Danielle Smith makes her pipeline pitch, but David Eby isn't sold. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
The top news stories
and conversations that matter to you.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
It's the pipeline power struggle. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is putting her government's money where its mouth is, $14 million worth, to advance an application for a West Coast pipeline project to either Prince Rupert or Kitimat.
To be clear, Alberta taxpayers will not be on the hook to build this pipeline. But this initial investment is crucial to get this important work underway, and we cannot let billions in investment and future revenues continue to flee our nation. We have worked closely with our pipeline companies to chart a path forward so that we can provide a detailed plan to be approved by the federal government. This work will be guided by an expert advisory committee with a dedicated full-time project management team that includes the top pipeline experts in North America. And it is my hope, with Alberta as the proponent, that we will see this pipeline project on the next list of nation-building projects announced by the federal government come Grey Cup in November.
As you heard, under Premier Smith's plan, the Alberta government will back an advisory group that includes three major energy companies: Enbridge, Trans Mountain Corporation, and South Bow Corporation. The Premier insists the Alberta government will not fund the construction of any pipeline, but she is confident a company will step up if Ottawa clears the way.
And so what we hear from our partners is that they're not prepared to expand production if they can't get rid of these 9 bad laws, especially the emissions cap, which is really a production cap, and nor can they pledge barrels to a pipeline if the tanker ban is still in effect. So this is the problem that we find ourselves in, is that we as the owner, to try to steward this resource on behalf of our people, have a partner that's not willing to expand because of bad federal laws. So that's one reason. The other reason is I had an opportunity on a trade mission to be in Mexico, and I heard about TC Energy's success in partnering with the Mexican government. They have challenges too down there, but they managed to partner with the Mexican government, where the Mexican government began with the community benefits agreement, the consultation, the permitting process, and the company ended up focusing on the technical aspects of building a pipeline. They were able to get from final investment decision to completion on a 750-kilometer pipeline in 3 years. It was the biggest success in their history, and so I think we can learn from that.
But there's a big obstacle in the way. It stands about 6 feet, 7 inches tall. It's David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia.
My message in the quiet rooms with the Prime Minister, with the Premier of Alberta, is the exact same as the message that I'm delivering to you here today. There is no project proponent. This is a taxpayer-funded initiative by the taxpayers of Alberta currently, proposed to also be the taxpayers of Canada through the publicly owned Trans Mountain Pipeline project as well. This pipeline project requires a tanker ban off the coast to be lifted if, hypothetically, a proponent was ever found. Now, that tanker ban is in place. It is foundational for British Columbians who value our coast. It is foundational for First Nations whose consent we have sought and obtained for literally tens of billions of dollars of major projects that are real, that are not taxpayer funded, that will drive forward the BC and the Canadian economy for years to come. And so the challenge that I have is that this proposal from the Alberta Premier for taxpayers to do this work comes at the expense of real private sector projects that are going to lift our economy and lift the national economy, and for no apparent reason.
So that means no. And he would go on to explain further why he's a no.
My priority as the Premier of British Columbia is to ensure that we're delivering projects that are going to lift up the BC economy, give families good, high quality, high paid jobs so they can respond to some of the cost pressures they're seeing, that's going to create revenue for public services that people need and deserve. The proposals being advanced from Alberta are just that. They are sketched out on a piece of paper. There is no proponent. It is entirely taxpayer funded. And the fact that there is not a private proponent, despite obviously huge willingness on the part of Alberta to subsidize this using tax dollars, should tell you everything you need to know about the reality of this project, which is that it is not a real project.
Premier Eby in Victoria. Back in Calgary, Premier Smith didn't mention David Eby, but suggested Canada is a partnership. And BC needs to be a partner in nation building.
But this is a Canada project. And this is a test of whether Canada works as a country. Because if we can't build with collaboration of the federal government and between provinces, if it's everybody gets to get their products going to market except Alberta, that's not a country. A country is one where we support each other. And I think Canadians are there, and I hope that we can get more and more politicians to get there too.
As for reaction in Ottawa, it is about as you would expect. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is a big yes.
Will British Columbians support pipelines? Overwhelmingly, yes. British Columbians want pipelines built. It's Liberals that are standing in the way. Liberals are blocking pipelines. The only thing standing between a pipeline that starts in Hardisty, Alberta, and ends in the northwest BC coast is Mark Carney and the Liberals.
Green Party leader Elizabeth May is a big no.
There's no way that any fossil fuel infrastructure is permitted in the world today, given the decisions of the International Criminal Court about responsibility of states due to climate crisis. Under the Paris Accord, our targets are legally binding. It is inconsistent with any commitment to climate action to build any new fossil fuel infrastructure.
And for the leader of the Bloc Québécois, Yves-François Blanchet, well, he's a no in both official languages.
Let's imagine that Quebec is an independent and free country. We will go on the world stages to say that Alberta is destroying the environment of the whole planet.
It's been a decade since the Trudeau government imposed a ban on oil tankers along a segment of the northern BC coast. That effectively killed Enbridge's original plan for the Northern Gateway pipeline to Kitimat. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
If you're ever looking for a podcast of our show, Now You Know with Rob Snow, there's a great new mobile app, and it will help you hear our show when you want to. Listen live, listen to the podcast. It's called the Seeker app. That's Seeker, spelled S-E-E-K-R, and it has all kinds of exclusive audio that you won't hear anywhere else. News, music, and sports. And you can download Seeker for iOS or Android. That's Seeker, spelled S-E-E-K-R. And Now You Know with Rob Snow is also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Well, Blue Jays fans, we are all still playing the waiting game, waiting to see who the Blue Jays will play in the American League Divisional Series. That will be decided tonight. It will be a winner-take-all between the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. They're beating up on one another. That series is all tied up at a game apiece. Yankees down the Red Sox 4-3 yesterday in New York. Yankees scored the winning run in the bottom of the eighth. Tonight's game goes a little later than the previous two games. Start time 8 p.m. Eastern. You can catch that game on Sportsnet. As for what all of this means for when the Jays will play, well, that was revealed yesterday by Major League Baseball. There will be games both Saturday and Sunday in the American League Divisional Series. If it's the Red Sox, the start time would be 1:08 Eastern time. If it's the Yankees, it would be 4:08 Eastern time. And Sunday's game is scheduled for 4:08 Eastern, whether it's the Yankees or the Red Sox. Both games in Toronto and on Sportsnet. Now, there was an odd moment during one of the Major League broadcasts yesterday. It happened during the game between the San Diego Padres and the Chicago Cubs. It was on ABC, which also owns ESPN. And the announcer, Kevin Brown, was trying to promote the start of the NHL regular season next week and all the games that are going to be on ESPN this season. ESPN pays the National Hockey League about $400 million a year to broadcast NHL games in the United States. But that was apparently lost on the color commentator during this baseball game. His name, Ben McDonald. Let's listen to this.
And the Blackhawks return to the ice Next Tuesday, NHL opening night against the defending champion Florida Panthers at 5 Eastern, 4 Central on ESPN. Triple header that night. Penguins, Rangers, Avalanche, Kings. Ben, I know you got an opinion on this. Panthers three-peat this year. What do you think?
If you say so. I mean, good luck to them. Are you asking me if I'm going to be watching?
No, you'll be watching, of course, because you work for ESPN. You'll be watching Friday night.
There is zero chance I'll be watching. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Where will you be?
I will be somewhere, but there's zero chance I'll be watching.
All right, thanks, Ben. We'll be watching. Thanks for the rating.
There's zero chance I'll be watching, he said. Just what the bosses at ESPN want to hear. Look, as for the rest of the playoff picture in Major League Baseball, the Tigers and Guardians are tied at a win each. The Dodgers swept the Reds, so the Dodgers move on to face the Phillies. The Padres and Cubs are tied at 1. I watched a little bit of that game yesterday. It was a heck of a pitching performance from Padres Mason Miller. First time I've ever watched him. Incredible. So Mason Miller has now struck out the first 8 batters he faced this postseason, 3 in game 1 and 5 more in game 2. And that included a fastball clocked at 104.5 miles per hour. Can you even imagine it? 104.5 miles per hour, the fastest pitch thrown in the postseason since pitch tracking began back in 2008. And very quickly in the National Football League, Week 5 gets underway tonight. It's Thursday night football. 49ers and Rams should be a good one. Both teams 3-1. Game time for that, 8:15 Eastern tonight. My friend on the right side of things, Michael Taube, coming up next here on News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
With my friend on the right side of things, Michael Taube, syndicated columnist and speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper and happy Yankees fan as well. Michael Taube, how are you today?
I am a happy Yankees fan, and I'm doing well. Hope you are too.
Yeah. Michael and I quite often will talk about the conservative movement, various conservative parties. I would like to talk a little bit today about what's happening in British Columbia. You have Premier Eby playing the major obstacle to a pipeline push from Premier Danielle Smith. Premier Eby thinks he's standing up for his constituents in BC. Okay, all
Correct.
well and good. But I really get the sense from a conservative point of view that British Columbia is just kind of there for the taking. If only some kind of BC conservative-like party could get its act together. It's not like David Eby has been a great premier. He's not been a great premier.
No.
And it's been proven in the past that BC voters will support a small C option, whether that was the old Liberal Party of BC, what became BC United, which is no more. And now we have this Mr. Rustad's party. But I mean, it's a gong show with that party right now. What do you think, Michael?
Oh, yeah, I agree. Eby's been a mediocrity as a premier. He is ripe for the taking, and I think almost anybody would say so. The problem has been, and you probably talked a little bit about it on your show, is that the BC Conservatives, who really were a nothing unit a number of decades ago, and eventually just became, through a lot of good organizations, some good election campaigning and so forth, became not only a viable source, but in the last provincial election in BC, almost became the government. And this was under John Rustad. John Rustad used to be a federal MP, and he had eventually moved over to the BC Liberals, BC United collective that you briefly mentioned, then eventually was booted out by BC United, became the leader of the BC Conservatives, and in the end, when you put everything together in a neat little tidy bow, almost became premier of the province. The problem has been since then that the party has just been an absolute disaster, and not because of external forces, but more internal forces, and that's what's kind of shocking about it. He's had a couple breaks with some MLAs, which are the equivalent for those of us in the East of MPPs provincially, members of the provincial parliament, except in that case, it's members of the Legislative Assembly. He's booted out a couple, including one very recently who was sort of seen as a moderate in the party and could have been helpful to him.
Eleanor Sturko. Yeah, Eleanor Sturko. Yeah.
That's right. And then what just happened the last couple of days with Lindsay Shepherd, who people may remember from a few years ago, a whole brouhaha she had at Wilfrid Laurier University as a graduate student. She's moved on to do different things in conservative circles and eventually became a comms officer or a communications officer for the BC Conservatives, and had actually sat on their board very early on before John Rustad himself moved to the BC Conservatives and became party leader over a tweet or whatever you wish to call it, tweet, post, it doesn't really matter, on X, where she was critical of the Truth and Reconciliation movement and just the Orange Shirt Day and flags that were flying over there, and used some language that Mr. Rustad was obviously frustrated with, and he fired her right off the spot, which has actually turned off a lot of BC Conservative supporters, because whether they agreed or disagreed with her tweet, they realized that if you truly believe in free speech, or at least intellectual discourse, the discussion of different ideas you agree and disagree on, Mr. Rustad's not doing that at all, and that's really causing a huge problem to the BC Conservatives. And I'm not saying they're necessarily imploding, but they're struggling right now.
Oh, yeah, I would say so. We only have about 45 seconds left.
Okay.
Tell me something about Nigel Wright, the late now Nigel Wright.
It's hard to do in 45 seconds, but I'll be quick. I knew Nigel Wright for many years, and we weren't especially close, but we had a lot of similar ideas on politics, and we did communicate from time to time. Very impressive figure, as a lawyer, a businessman, and in Conservative Party circles. He did so much to help the movement, help the party, help leaders like Brian Mulroney and Stephen Harper. He'll be missed. Rest in peace.
Very well said, Michael. Thank you so much. I'm glad we could connect today. Good luck to your Yankees, but not too much luck.
I'll take some. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Michael Taube, syndicated columnist, speechwriter for Stephen Harper back in the day.
You have questions.
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
It's time for our Thursday Newsday political panel. We are planning an all-island edition today. Jordan Paquet, originally from Prince Edward Island, Vice President of Bluesky Strategy Group. How are you today, Jordan?
I'm doing great, Rob. How you doing?
Yeah, good to hear from you. We're just waiting to connect with your cross-island rival from the Liberals, Nick McRoberts with Hill and Knowlton. So when we connect with Nick, we're going to bring him right on. But let's talk about
Charlottetown, too.
Yeah. Well, you do have, I don't know where Nick is, but you have bad cell reception. Whenever I go to PEI, the cell reception is terrible. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know if he's
on the island. There. Yeah, down east somewhere. Yeah.
I want to talk about what we're hearing in advance of the November 4th budget from various parties and whether the Liberals are governing like they have a majority when they don't have a majority. They have what I would call a stable minority government, but not a majority government. For example, the leader of the Bloc Québécois said he's heard nothing from the Liberals about the budget. They haven't even had a meeting. And it doesn't sound like the Bloc is going to vote for the budget. The NDP doesn't sound happy, and if you're a New Democrat, there's lots to be unhappy about. There was some kind of meeting yesterday, maybe we'll learn more about this today, between the Prime Minister and Don Davies, who's the interim leader. Elizabeth May has always been very loyal to the Liberals and has supported the Liberals for a long time during the Trudeau years, but maybe she's not happy because of the backsliding on climate that we've seen. And let's face it, we can't see the Conservatives supporting a Liberal budget that has a massive deficit, whether it's 68 billion, 90 billion, whatever it is. Mark Carney needs 5 votes. Where does he find 5 votes?
So looking into this, I kind of take it back to the days of the Harper minority government, I think. They were... they were putting forward some pretty conservative policies, but none of the other parties were particularly interested in bringing the government down right away. So it's not like they were going to go along and vote with the budget, vote to pass certain pieces of legislation and help the government out and make life easy for them. but they weren't going to do anything they could to make it fall right away. And so there's certain ways that that parties can do this. I mean, people get quote unquote sick and they miss a vote, or any of those number of things. So as long as the government doesn't want to fall itself, I don't see a time this fall where it would fall on the budget vote. Now, the other thing that could happen is if the government did want to sort of test the confidence and put in a couple poison pills that they know the opposition just would not support, then that's one way they could go about it as well. But I think in the broader sense, Mark Carney does have some pretty big leeway right now to put out, he has a very big agenda. He set the bar very high for himself. Now it's time to deliver. And I think the other parties are willing to let him try and do that. Not give him a clean slate to just kind of walk through it all. I mean, opposition's still going to control the committees, and that's where the budget's going to have to go through. But on the broader sense of it, I don't expect that the government will fall on this budget. It's not going to be like that Joe Clark scenario in 1979.
Right. Okay, so you would see then maybe a lot of maneuvering from the whips in the background.
Oh, yes.
Who's there?
Yeah,
who's not there? Who's sick today? Who's, that kind of stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely, yeah. And if it looks like it, I mean, if they have to sit people, if somebody accidentally twists their ankle walking into the house, there's ways that the budget could not meet it, even if all parties say that they're not going to support it. Now, the difference is going to be if each party comes out and publicly declares that there is no way that they will support this budget. I think in the case that we had in the Stephen Harper days, one party would just kind of abstain and kind of let it pass. I would expect it would be more something like that the parties will get together and be like, hey, none of us want to force an election right now. So who's willing to kind of sit this vote out? So something like that could happen. Yeah. But yeah, unless it becomes this vicious, the budget with all these measures in it and poison pills that the government wants to bring itself down on and try and get a functioning majority, then that could happen. But I don't expect that to happen for
I don't expect that. I could see the NDP kind of abstaining just because of where that party is right now, financially, and plus it's in the midst of a leadership race, right? So it wants to get its own affairs sorted out. So it might kind of hold its nose and not say yes, not say no.
Right. And are they going to try and do the same tactics that they did trying to exact concessions from the government? Mark Carney at this particular point in his tenure and mandate is in a much better position than Justin Trudeau was. I mean, Justin Trudeau was running so far to the left to try and outflank the NDP on many issues, but also make it seem like he was giving them a political win in many of these cases. I don't see that same thing happening this time. I mean, maybe they'll agree to one little thing that allows them to either support it or sit it out. But I think he has some broad leeway to go with this one.
When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about pipeline politics and Remembrance Day and the number of wreaths per riding for MPs. I couldn't believe that story that I read this morning, limiting the number of MPs wreaths for Remembrance Day ceremonies. When MPs go to Remembrance Day ceremonies in their ridings, they typically lay wreaths at the cenotaph, and Veterans Affairs is saying no, only two wreaths per riding. Some of these MPs have to go to several ceremonies, many ceremonies. If they have a big riding, maybe 5, 6, 7 ceremonies in a big riding would not be unusual. Be right back with our good friend Jordan Paquet from Bluesky Strategy Group. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
Here with Jordan Paquet, Vice President, Bluesky Strategy Group, talking a little bit of politics today with our good friend Jordan. After Premier Smith's announcement that her government will fund an application for a pipeline seeking approval from the National Projects Office, what do you think the next move will be from the Carney government?
It's really interesting here. Look, say what you want about Danielle Smith, but she knows how to play the game and play the politics game very well, and almost better than anyone in the country right now. She's really forced the Prime Minister here into a bit of a corner by choosing him, by making him kind of take sides. This is a government, a federal government that has been trying to give some attention to some of Alberta's grievances. They created this major projects office, headquartered it in Calgary, put a prominent Calgarian in Don Farrell in charge of this. But at the same time, the Alberta government has kind of been sitting back and waiting, saying like, okay, but we still need to get these energy projects to market. I mean, how are we going to do that, and where's this going to come from? Sure, there's no proponent yet, but that's because the regulatory environment hasn't been conducive to allowing one to come forward. So in doing what she did yesterday, she's really kind of laid it out on the table and put the Prime Minister in a very difficult position with his caucus and perhaps with other parts of the country to really force a decision here into the future and put a bit of a timeline on it. So it'll be really interesting to see how he comes out in response to this publicly after some of the rumors from the closed door session of caucus yesterday, where MPs were raising concerns.
Yeah, it's quite a power play by her, though, isn't it? Like, here's what we're doing, and we're hoping we'll get an answer by the Grey Cup.
Yeah, she's doing her job as the premier of Alberta, and I mean, she's not looking to win votes in Ottawa, in Quebec,
or in British Columbia, for that matter,
or BC. Yeah. She's not looking to win votes. She knows the position that she is in. She knows the position that the economy is in. She knows that the people of her province have been waiting for these regulatory hurdles to go away so they could get their natural resources to market. And now she's really forced the timeline on it. And, the Prime Minister was trying to kind of straddle both sides of the issue for a long time. To his credit, I think he brought the temperature down quite a bit previously on some of these issues. But now she has basically streamlined the timeline for any type of decisions on this.
I want to ask you about a news story today. This is really quite something to me. This is from CTV News, which obtained an email that was sent to MPs from the Veterans Affairs Minister, Jill McKnight. Veterans Affairs is pleased to continue the Wreaths for Parliamentarians program in 2025 with a revised format. Goes on to say, MPs will get 2 wreaths with a red ribbon that says Canada. MPs may order more, but additional costs are the responsibility of the requester. Order form attached to the email notes additional wreaths cost $115 plus shipping costs that will vary depending on quantities and delivery locations. For MPs representing large geographical ridings, as many as 24 wreaths can be needed for displays at various cenotaphs and ceremonies during Veterans Week, November 5th to 11th. Could add up to a few $1,000s. My gosh, what are they thinking? Now that this is public, do you expect it to be reversed? What do you think is going to happen with this announcement here?
So,
doing Remembrance Day on the cheap? Are you kidding me?
I know a few things to unpack here. First of all, I mean, I'd worked in Parliament Hill in different offices before, and we just, opposition office, Prime Minister's office, you didn't necessarily understand where the wreaths came from. I had just assumed they came from the Legion, and they kind of presented them. I know in many cases we had to buy, you'd have to kind of buy some extra or whatever. But in this particular case, the way that the government's arguing we're right-sizing the program, to use those words is I don't know who in communications in the Department of Veterans Affairs allowed that type of a statement to go out. We're talking about Remembrance Day. We're talking about commemoration of veterans. This is kind of the least of what Canadians would expect to do, that there's wreaths available. If you're looking to right-size programs or cost-cutting measures in different spots, this is not where you do it. No. And that is the money that I think that the government would be supplying directly to the Legions. So, I mean, I would be interested to see the final figures when it's all said and done. Are they just going to try and balance it out? I mean, there was better ways that they could have did to explain this. Sure, if one MP has 20 cenotaphs in their riding and another has 1, like, are they just trying to make it more equitable? I'm not sure, but it seems like anywhere there's a cenotaph, anywhere there's a ceremony, there should be a federal government wreath, and that's the least that I think the government should do in this case.
All right. Hang on for a few more minutes, Jordan. Just a few more questions for you. Be right back. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know, News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
Jordan Paquet is here from Bluesky Strategy Group. We were supposed to be joined by our good friend Nick McRoberts from Hill and Knowlton, our fellow Islander. Well, Jordan's fellow Islander. I'm from the other island, the better island. But nevertheless, I wonder, Jordan, maybe Nick he might be stuck on a ferry. Maybe he's stuck on a ferry somewhere. You know?
Well, I did used to work for Lawrence Macaulay, so I know how it had no ways out of the.
Those ferries, you know, they break down from time to time. I hope he's okay. We miss you, Nick. Look, I have to ask you, for days now, I don't quite understand. Press Gallery has been chasing Pierre Poilievre around. What do you think about the ostriches, this ostrich story? Even though this is a classic example of the media holding the opposition to account, not the government. Like, this is the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is here, a federal government agency. It's the RCMP who is there backing up the CFIA, the federal government police force. Yet all the questions are about Poilievre. Poilievre, what do you think about that? He was asked again today. Let's listen to a little bit of this.
Poilievre, Kyle Duggan from the Canadian Press. There is an ostrich farm out in BC that's facing a potential cull of its ostriches. Its supporters are looking to see if you support or oppose this. Have you taken any kind of position on this, or are you willing to speak to this matter in the House, as some of your MPs have?
Well, just yesterday I did speak on it, pointing out that this is just another example of total Liberal incompetence. They've mismanaged this from the very beginning, and now they've left Canadians confused, farmers baffled by the total incompetence by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Another disastrous Liberal mishandling of an issue that has left us with the problem we have today.
Look, he doesn't want to talk about it. Fine. I would like to know when the press gallery is going to ask, I don't know, the health minister, the public safety minister, the minister of agriculture. Lots of government ministers who are involved in this or should be involved in this. And yet all the questions are reserved for Pierre Poilievre. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I think, look, this is something that everyone's right, is that the longer that this goes on, the longer that the political side of government, let's say the minister of in charge of CFIA, which is the agriculture minister in terms of being in charge of animal health, the longer they let this go without actually trying to get out and communicate on some of these issues, you want to say fine that they don't direct the agencies, whatever. I think we saw in COVID that they were directing the public health agencies quite a bit. So I think in this case it can be the same too. But just to allow this to fester on, to allow their own employees, to allow the RCMP to sit there on the front lines and not having stepped in and tried to provide some more clarity on this, but just allowing some of the misinformation to just run rampant, has just been a complete failure of leadership on the part of the government. And I think, it's a complete mess. It's been going on for what, months now. And now it's going to make it to the Supreme Court. I mean, can you imagine that here with all the issues in Canada, we're talking about a farm of 400 ostriches in BC, and it's just continuing to fester. I noticed Elizabeth May coming out talking about it. I don't know if that was today or yesterday, but it was
yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be some leadership here. It's the government can pass the buck all they want, but they're in charge.
But Poilievre is the leader of the opposition.
Yeah.
Like, where's the government leadership, and where are the questions to the government leaders from our press gallery? Come on, guys and gals. Jordan, thanks. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Rob. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, I enjoyed it today. Bye-bye. Jordan Paquet, my good friend from Bluesky Strategy Group. Always enjoy our conversations. And I enjoy our conversations with you doing Talkback, and that's coming up next on News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And today, here's what I'm calling it. Winning issues for the left. Actually, I should say that like there's a question period at the end. winning issues for the left? Here's what I want to know today. I'm going to outline a number of policies that are being promoted by various left-wing politicians or political candidates, progressives, both here and in the United States. And what I want to know is if you think any of them are a good idea, whether you would support any of them. Are any of them a winner for you? Things like publicly owned grocery stores, free transit, free tuition, wealth taxes, taxes on billionaires, higher taxes for corporations, and government ownership of energy companies. The reason we're thinking about this, we're thinking about people like AOC, for example, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the United States, AOC, very popular left-wing Democratic member of Congress from New York City, rising star in the left-wing liberal politics of the United States. Some are saying she could run for president someday. AOC. We're thinking about people like Zohran Mamdani, also from New York City, member of the state legislature in New York State. He is the front runner to become the next mayor of New York City. And he is a self-described democratic socialist. Very good chance of becoming the next mayor of New York City. And here in this country, the NDP leadership campaign is underway. And one of the candidates in that campaign is a guy named Avi Lewis, an activist, deeply rooted in activist causes like social justice, climate justice, deep roots in the NDP, deep family roots. His grandfather David was leader of the federal NDP in the 70s. His father Stephen was the leader of the Ontario NDP in the 70s. So his candidacy has to be taken seriously. And a lot of these people are popular, and a lot of them have the same ideas. Not all the same ideas, but many of the same ideas. And what we want to know today is if you think some of them are winners and whether you could support them. Because some political observers are looking at the federal political landscape in this country right now, and they're seeing a prime minister in Mark Carney who's moving the Liberal Party, say, more to the center, maybe even a little bit right of center. And they're saying that leaves the left side of the political spectrum largely there for the taking. And people like Avi Lewis of the NDP, they just have to stake out that territory. But are these policies that people, you may be one of them, you consider yourself to be a progressive? A progressive? Can you get behind these ideas? Like public grocery stores. Avi Lewis has talked about this as an idea. So has Mamdani in New York. Publicly owned grocery stores. Mr. Lewis has been saying Canadians are getting gouged by the big three grocery store chains. There's not enough competition in the grocery store business, and there should be some kind of public option, some kind of option for Canadians to shop for groceries where the profit is not the main motivation. It should be a public, not-for-profit grocery store, maybe a chain of grocery stores like that. In the New York City case, this Mamdani guy has been much more detailed. He has an idea to have the municipal government of New York City own and operate grocery stores. A local government running a chain of grocery stores. What do you think of that idea? A publicly owned grocery store? Yes? No? Is that a winner for you? Free public transit. Public transit free for everyone. Like, for example, in Halifax, where a monthly transit pass is something like $90 for the adult public transit pass for a month. Or in Kitchener, where it's $104. Or in Calgary, where I think it's $118. What if transit fares were eliminated and riding public transit was free for everyone? All the time. Is that a winner for you? In New York, this Mamdani guy, that's one of his big promises. Is that a winning idea? What about free tuition? All of these people, to one degree or another, have all said they think college and university tuition should be eliminated. And Canadian students, for example, in the case of Avi Lewis, he thinks everyone should be able to attend college or university for free. Is that a winner? Wealth inequality. All of these people support, in one way or another, there are subtle differences, much higher taxes on wealthy individuals, much higher taxes on big corporations. In New York, Mandani has said there should be no such thing as a billionaire. Avi Lewis has said he supports higher taxes on billionaires, and he supports what's known as windfall taxes on corporations. AOC has said things like, every billionaire is a policy failure. And she has supported in the past a 70% marginal tax rate. For anyone who makes more than $10 million, the government should take 70%. And of course, all of these people are big into the environmental movement. But Avi Lewis has said in the past, all energy companies in Canada should be publicly owned. Think about that. No more private oil companies. No more private gas companies. No more private utilities. Public ownership of it all. The government should own all the energy companies. What do you think? Can you get behind any of these ideas? Are any of these ideas winning issues for you? Publicly owned grocery stores, free transit, free tuition, much higher taxes on the wealthy and big corporations. More government ownership, if not total government ownership of energy. No more private oil companies, gas companies, utilities. All of it controlled by the government. Are these winners? 1-833-668-2577 is our call-in line. If you've never called before, just mention that. We'll make your call a priority. We'll talk about some possible winning issues for the left on Talkback today on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
And lots of lines available there for everyone. Trying to explore with you winning issues for the left. When you look at what left-wing politicians or left-wing political candidates are promoting, you see some common issues. And I'm just curious. I'm not a big left-winger, but I know there are a lot of progressives all across the country. And I just want to know if you think these could be some winning issues. What do you think? Like publicly owned grocery stores. What do you think of that idea? When you hear that, people are floating that idea. Publicly owned grocery stores to compete with the big grocery store chains, bring down costs, grocery store costs, food prices for the average Canadian. Is there any merit to an idea like that? Free transit. No more transit fares. No more buying a monthly bus pass. No more buying a transit pass to ride a light rail system. Free college and university. No more university college. No more university tuition. No more college tuition. Is that doable? Is it a winner? Is it worth some exploration? What do you think? Eat the rich is always very popular. Higher taxes on wealthy individuals, special taxes for billionaires, these kinds of things. Special taxes, what are sometimes known as windfall taxes for big corporations. And I mean, Avi Lewis in the past, who's running for the NDP leadership, has promoted public ownership of all energy companies. No more private oil companies, no more private gas companies, no more private utilities, for example. What do you think of these as policies? What do you think of these as issues? Could you support some of these? 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. I'm really curious specifically about this idea of publicly owned grocery stores. Because food prices are so top of mind for so many people right now. You know, a publicly owned grocery store that would compete with a big chain like Sobeys or Loblaws or Metro. What do you think of an idea like that? This is an issue that the front runner in the election to become the next mayor of New York City is pitching, and it's very popular. Is it an idea that you could get behind? It's a big thing in the New York City election where you have someone who is a democratic socialist, this guy Mandani. He's probably going to win. And he has this idea of the New York City government, like think the municipal government, the local government, setting up a bunch of grocery stores throughout the city on city land, in city buildings, wouldn't have to pay rent. They wouldn't have to pay property taxes to New York City. And he says those savings would be passed on to the customer, set up as a not-for-profit. And he's making the claim there's the potential for people to save a lot of money when they go grocery shopping. I mean, it's a very popular idea for many voters in America's largest city. Many of them think it's a great idea. It's one of the reasons they're going to vote for the guy. Publicly owned grocery stores. Now, Avi Lewis, who is running for the leadership of the NDP, has talked in vague terms about this in the past. And when he launched his campaign for NDP leader a couple of weeks ago, he took direct aim at the grocery store giants, saying in no uncertain terms, they're ripping us off. That's his claim. They're ripping us off. And there needs to be another option. Now, we're probably going to do an interview with Avi Lewis sometime next week, I hope. And this will be one of the things I want to ask him about. This idea of a not-for-profit, publicly owned chain of grocery stores. I mean, I guess the model wouldn't be entirely new to Canada. We've had co-ops or cooperatives for decades in Canada, member-owned. They're supposed to be more community-minded, not shareholder-driven, if you will. And in Western Canada, there's federated cooperatives, used to be co-ops all over Atlantic Canada. I don't know if they're as popular as they used to be. But what do you think? Like, that's one idea that the left is promoting, both in the United States and in Canada. But is it a winner? Is it a winner? 1-833-668-2577 to have your say today on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
What do you think about what you're hearing from left-wing politicians, political candidates as promises and policy ideas? Publicly owned grocery stores, free transit, free tuition, much higher taxes on the wealthy, special taxes like windfall taxes on big corporations, public ownership of energy companies. What do you think of these issues? Are these winners for you? Maybe they're winners for you. What do you think? Honest opinion. 1-833-668-2577 to Omer in Kitchener. Omer. Hi, Omer.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
Very good, sir. What do you think?
So, they do have systems like this implemented in European countries where it's a cooperative where the government actually buys, like for grocery store in that aspect. They buy directly with registered farmers, so it's directly from the actual farmer to the government-owned or operated stores, and it's about half the cost. And there's always obviously limits on, like, you can't just go in and stock up. But it is something that is, I think, that would be beneficial to the overall public, at least people that have, lower income or have a harder time being able to, access basic essential needs or, to do a full grocery shopping. And it is something that is implemented in other countries.
Okay.
But will it happen here in North America? I highly doubt it. We're too much of a capitalist system. So I highly doubt it that they'll end up actually implementing it here anywhere in North America.
Well, as I say, I'm just really curious because I've been watching and reading some of the news about this mayor's election in New York City, and the number one candidate, the person who's expected to win, this is one of his big pitches. The New York City government would run grocery stores, put them in buildings that are owned by the government, and they won't pay rent, they won't pay taxes, and they'll sign deals, as you say, farmers and other food providers to save people money on groceries. I'm just wondering if people think that's a good idea or not.
I honestly think it would affect the overall market. Like, it would be a very beneficial thing where it'll actually end up having the grocery stores or regular grocery stores lower their costs too, because I've been in the grocery store business, like in the sense where I've worked in them for years, and their margins are fairly high, and they get their products on negotiated price terms a year, 2 years in advance. So before the crop has even been harvested, they already know how much they're going to be paying for it a year in advance. And with inflation, they just raise up their prices as they feel, not because their prices have actually gone up for the actual, of the actual product that they're purchasing, because they've already negotiated that a year in advance. So I think it'll help them, it'll help the public, and get lower prices overall. It's a good thing, but will it get implemented? I don't know.
You don't think so? Okay. I would just counter and say the big grocery store chains say their margins are super thin. The numbers are big because they sell a lot of stuff. But when you actually look at the bottom line, it's like 3 cents on the dollar. They're making 3 cents on the dollar. That's what they say. The Loblaws, the Metros, the Sobeys of the world.
I doubt it. But
you doubt it? Okay. All right.
I doubt it because I know from their side as well. Like, I know from store managers, franchisees of Loblaws and their entities, and their margins, their margins actually increase year over year. Like, the amount of money they make.
Okay.
Yes,
well, I mean, all of this is publicly disclosed because they have shares listed on the stock exchange, so they actually have to disclose what their profit margins are, so anybody can look that up. And it wouldn't be beneficial for them to lie about it because they that's a crime. All right. Thank you. You think there's merit to it. They do it in other places. Could work here on a publicly owned grocery store. That's not all the left-wing politicians are pitching these days. Free transit, free tuition, much higher wealth taxes. Share your thoughts.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Gathering your reaction to some of the policy ideas that we're hearing from people on the left. Things like publicly owned grocery stores or free transit or free tuition, much higher wealth taxes on billionaire taxes, windfall taxes on big corporations, public ownership of energy companies. Think no more private oil companies, no more private gas companies, no more private utilities. What do you think of ideas like this? Let's go to Fred is in Waterloo. Hi, Fred.
Oh, hi. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Fred. What do you think of some of these ideas?
Well, I do. I think there's some traction on some of them. I think progressive ideas need to be put into the public discourse because they have not been well received lately, and I think it's time to start thinking more creatively about ways that can help the middle and lower income folks in our society.
So when you hear an idea like a publicly owned grocery store, for example, what do you think of an idea like that?
Yeah, I know you've been focusing on that with the last caller. I think they're called food banks. Let's call a spade a spade. Those food banks are publicly owned, and they're feeding thousands and thousands of people in our community. I'd like to focus on a couple of other bullet points there, too. You talked about free public transportation. Well, why not subsidize public transportation? We subsidize our roads. Why not do the same for poor folks that need to take public transit in our cities?
Well, most big cities already have a low-income transit pass. If you are on social assistance, for example, you're not paying the full regular adult rate already. It's deeply discounted in most major cities already. But should it should it be free for everyone? That's my question.
Well, that bumps up ridership, and I know in Waterloo, where we live, we provide free transit fares to our university students, and that quantity of traffic really helps Grand River Transit to up their ridership and have more routes.
Okay, so you would support something like free public transit. Free public transit.
Yep. Subsidize. I mean, we subsidize the oil companies. Let's call a spade a spade. I know this is going to Alberta, and you guys don't like that, but let's be clear. The government subsidizes oil. We should subsidize public transit. The other thing I'd want to highlight, the free tuition. I'm a retired university administrator, and at this point, only 18% of our revenue came from grants from the government. another maybe 20% come from tuition. And we've had a tuition freeze in Ontario since Doug Ford came in, and that has really created a big crisis in Ontario universities. So tuition revenue has been frozen for the last number of years. And to take 20% to 0%, frankly, isn't that big a cut as long as that grant increases to offset that.
All right, Fred, thank you. Very interesting. Fred's supportive of things like free public transit and free tuition. Let's go to James, who's in Calgary. James, you're up next on Talkback. Hi there, James. Are you with me, James? All right, let's try Rick then. Rick is up next in Calgary. Hi, Rick.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good, Rick. What do you think of some of these ideas?
Well, I'd like to remind people here, first of all, I've been in the oil industry for 40 years, and when that gentleman said that the oil industry is subsidized, he doesn't know what he's talking about. There are certain things that are subsidized, and it's only because the federal government gets in the way, and they have to subsidize it to get it through. Otherwise, nobody's going to waste their money because of all the red tape that they have. Having said that, let me move on. Everybody forgets that since our buddy Trudeau left, he left us with, what was it, $48 billion deficit. Now, our clown show Carney gentleman has now told us it's actually $68.5 billion. So how do you spell the word free with $68.5 billion deficit this year? Like, it doesn't work. You look at all the European countries that the other gentleman talked about, look at the mess they're in. Their immigration is a mess, not as bad as ours, but, well, maybe worse than ours, but it's a mess. And they're trying to give things away over there, and it turned out to be a disaster. You look at the food chains. They do have slim margins, but it's like Costco and everybody else. These companies give them everything at a cheaper rate so they can sell more in volume. If the government gets in, first of all, you got to remember it's going to cost money to get into this. They're not just going to put it up in a warehouse division. They're going to have to go make leases, do this, do that, and they're going to have to pay people. What's that going to be like? And then when they try to sell the food at a smaller margin, it's not going to be that much smaller because these guys are only making anywhere from 3 to 7%. That's it. It's all in volume. You can read it. I am a shareholder of Loblaws, and they came out and it was 4.8% last quarter. So I'm kind of looking at people going. So
Loblaws would be making 4.8 cents on the dollar. You're saying, like less than a nickel on the dollar. You're saying.
That's correct. I'm a shareholder.
Okay.
I read it. I know how to read financials. Now let's go back to the one thing though. We have a deficit. You go to free public transit. You go to you say the word free under anything, and it's not free. Everybody seems to just think that this money appears out of nowhere. That's why we have a $68.5 billion deficit, because the government just keeps on giving away stuff that we don't have the money to pay for. So if people want to go for a public grocery store, you're going to find out that the prices aren't going to go down that much. They might go down maybe 5% tops if these guys want to really cut their margins even more. What's the point? Because the government's not going to tell you if they're losing money. They've never told us that. If they're losing money, this is going to be the top secret because they don't want to look like they made a mistake again, which they always do. So I just want everybody to open up their eyes and just kind of go, if the word free is in front of the sentence, I want to know who's paying for it and how much.
Okay. So free transit doesn't really exist. Free tuition doesn't really exist. That would be your point, right, Rick?
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I'm paying for it. You're paying for it.
Of
Somebody's
course. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
this
Very
thing,
good. Very good. But it doesn't stop them from promoting it year after year after year. I hear, in municipal elections all across the country, we have free transit. You have a federal election, it always comes up. We should have free tuition. No more tuition.
Yeah, but who's promoting it? It's the NDP. That's why they got punted last time. The NDP and that Mondani guy are nuts, and the only reason that you say nuts, but in the case of Zoran Mandani, I mean, he could be the next mayor of New York City. It's quite incredible to me. Say something to that.
There's got to be, there's something to it. It's tapping into something. I've got to run. Thank you, though. I love your call. Be right back on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
We want to know what you think of these ideas that are coming from the left, from the progressive movements in the United States and Canada. Publicly owned grocery stores, free transit, free tuition, much higher wealth taxes on individuals and corporations, public ownership of energy companies, no more private oil companies, for example. What do you think of these ideas? Have your say at 1-833-668-2577. Let's go to James. Hi, James.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, James. What do you think, James?
Well, I'm going to give your callers a little tidbit of information. Number one, these grocery stores, we have Calgary Co-op and Federated Co-op, and their prices are higher than most of the other places.
Oh, really? Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, Calgary Co-op, if you want to save money, you do not go to Calgary Co-op. They are very expensive compared to everybody else, number one. Number two, when these grocery stores say they have a 1% to 3% margin, what they don't tell you is 90 to 95% of the products on their shelves, they don't even own. They're all owned by independent vendors that provide the product to them. Now, where they make their profits that are considered management fees is they have management fees, they have shelf retention fees, shelf restocking fees that they charge back to the vendor. My daughter worked in the wholesale food industry, and that can amount to thousands and thousands of dollars per invoice that are charged back to the vendors, but they're not considered profits by the company. And when they did an investigation into these grocery stores about, gouging people, they didn't even talk or look into the vendor chargebacks and the fees and everything else that they collect that aren't considered in profits.
Okay. So what do you think of this idea of publicly owned grocery stores? Not-for-profit grocery stores. In theory, okay.
If you keep charging vendor chargeback fees and everything else, it's going to keep the prices up anyways, and these people are going to make money.
Okay. What do you think of some of these other ideas? Free tuition, free public transit, stuff like that?
Well, that's all great if you have, in Calgary is where I'm at. If you have a free transit system, it'd be great, but we have such a crappy transit system out here. Most people don't, a lot of people don't take it, not most, they're full all the time. And our whole transit system needs revamping and overhauling because it doesn't cover a lot of the areas that people need to get to. So people drive their cars.
Okay. All right. James, thank you. Thank you, James. Thank you. I want to take Bernie's call because Bernie's a longtime socialist there as well. Bernie. Hello, Bernie.
Yeah, thank you for a ray of sunshine. You finally brought up a subject that I really can relate to.
Yeah, you relate to this one. Okay. What do you think?
I think it's great ideas. I think they're long past due. They should have been implemented 50 years ago, 75 years ago under the CCF, if the people had chosen them. So I think that the powers to be, your day of reckoning is coming. The high rents, the high grocery prices, the high cost of living and everything. Charge it to the ones that are making the money, the capitalists. Tax them to the hilt till you get it on your feet, and everything in this country should be privately owned, groceries, energy, oceans, everything, and for the benefit of the people. That's what I believe. And I'm 77 years old, and I haven't changed it, and I'm not a millionaire. I make a good living. I live okay and everything, but I like to see it flow down to the ordinary people.
All right, so you're in favor of all of these, right?
Yes,
Not-for-profit grocery stores, free transit, free tuition, nationalize the oil companies, tax the billionaires.
Yes, groceries, everything that people need for basic living should be under the government's control and run by the government.
Under government control.
I really believe that.
All right, I know you do, Bernie. I know you do. You've been telling me that for years. Good to hear your voice again. All right. Talk back. 1-833-668-2577. What we hear from the left. Popular policy ideas from the left. Today on Talkback on News Radio.
Have Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Publicly owned, not-for-profit grocery stores, free public transit, free college and university, higher taxes on the rich, bigger taxes for corporations, nationalizing energy companies. These are all policies being promoted by left-wing politicians and political candidates in the United States and in Canada. I want to know what you think of them today on Talkback. And up next, we have Blake in Calgary. Hello, Blake. Hi, Blake.
How are you doing today, Rob?
Very good, Blake. What do you think?
Well, I'm in Calgary, so I'm a diehard conservative, and I'm going to tell you, all of this all left, far left progressivism. Look what happened in Venezuela. Look what happened to the Soviet Union. People were destitute all the time. The country was broke, 100% of the time. These policies do not work. Yes, they're great to discuss in academia and in classrooms all across the country, but in reality, they simply do not work.
Well, let's take a policy like free transit. Free transit, always a dream of left-wing politicians, especially at the municipal level. Always popular in left-wing politics in Canada. Why wouldn't something like that work?
Well, because somebody has to pay for it. It's going to be the taxpayers. It's going to be the middle class. Yeah, you can say you're going to tax the wealthy and blah, blah, blah. It's all going to fall on the middle class. It always does. And we're broke enough as it is. We have nothing left in the cupboard to give.
Okay. So your prediction would be, say, for Calgary Transit, whatever fare revenue comes in to fund the Calgary transit system, you would need to replace that somewhere, and there's only one place to replace it, and that's with people like you on their property tax
Exactly.
bills. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Bang on.
Yeah. Yeah. They're trying it in other cities. They're doing it in other places.
It doesn't seem to be working, though, because, again, it all falls back onto the middle-class taxpayer.
Okay. All right. Won't work. Failed policies that have failed where they've been tried, says Blake. Let's go. Who's up? Sorry. Who is up next on Talkback today? Danvir in Calgary. Okay, Danvir. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, Danvir.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Danvir. What do you think of these policies, Danvir? Very popular in some political circles.
The only policy that I'm in favor of is the free transit, because I don't think it is a left policy. It is more like it would make more sense.
Okay.
Right now, per side fare in Calgary is almost $4, right? So if I go out as a family of four, that's $32. It's more money than driving my car on a weekend, right? So so it doesn't even make sense to use transit. Transit should be free. People should not be thinking if they want to use the transit, right? The other policy about the taxation, the more, it's only going to make things more expensive. The more tax that goes to the government becomes inefficient, and they do not utilize the money properly. So they should not, high tax doesn't help. I don't think it helps. There was about what was the other thing? Sorry, I forgot the.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It's been that kind of week for some people. We'll be right back. That's it for hour number one. Hour number two of Talkback. We're going to talk a lot more about this, okay? When we come back. This is News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
So we're calling it today Winning Issues for the Left. We want to know what you think of some of these policies that are being promoted by progressives, like publicly owned grocery stores, or free transit, or free tuition, or much higher taxes on the wealthy. Special what they call windfall taxes for big corporations, public ownership of things like energy companies. So think no more private oil companies. Government takes them over, or private utilities, for example. You have in Alberta. None of that. What do you think of these? Do you support some of these? 1-833-668-2577. Robert's up first in hour number 2. Hello, Robert.
Hello.
Yeah. What do you think?
Listening. Hang on. I got to step outside. I'm in a restaurant. I'll just take 2 seconds. Okay,
Right,
I'm outside.
Good. Okay.
Yeah,
That was less than 2 seconds. Very good.
I just ordered a sub. I haven't paid him yet. There's a couple of issues I've seen. People talk about, one guy, that oil companies are just being subsidized. I don't think they ever have any idea what a wellhead tax means in terms of what oil companies have done to them. That's a massive tax they pay right off the top as soon as they produce it. There's no subsidy covering for that. Now, as for the grocery stores, they're saying they make a 3 to 5% margin. Well, that's their margin after all expenses. And, I wish my business could make that much after all expenses. They present it like saying that's our markup on the produce we buy, but it's not. That's their what's left after they take their markup, they pay all their staff, they pay their rent, everything.
Sure, everything. Yeah.
You have to think, it is slightly, a lot of people just think of it as markup on the goods, but it's not. And therefore, if you provide a no-profit grocery store, all you're getting rid of is that 3 to 5%. And so the grocery stores, it's going to be 3 to 5% cheaper than the other. That's not going to do a lot of good.
Okay. It's a very popular policy in this New York City election, and they say the second toughest job in politics is being the mayor of New York City. And the person who's going to be the next mayor of New York City, this is what they're promoting, that the government would own grocery stores. Okay, I'm going to let Robert go and let him enjoy a submarine sandwich. How about Fraser? Can we take Fraser's call? Hi, Fraser.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi.
How are you?
Very good. What do you think? Appreciate it.
I like the show.
Thank you.
I just got a couple
I like
things.
your call
So all
already.
the things that we're talking about, like free, everything public, that is what communism is, right?
Okay.
It's by the people, for the people, and historically, like your last couple callers ago, he described that it failed. I just have a story. My dad, he was a blue-collar worker working at a mill, and he went out, risked money and everything, and he opened some grocery stores, a chain of grocery stores.
Okay.
And anyone can do that, right? And if you want to cap it at a certain thing, and the profits that they got more grocery stores, which created jobs for people, and that's the thing he's most proud of, is making jobs. If we do it for the people, by the people, then it's just going to be like what's next? Our homes, like no one's going to be able to own anything or work towards anything to get above.
Okay. Again, I come back to this, this idea in New York City that they're floating, and it's very popular. And this guy calls himself a democratic socialist. He's quite proud of it. The New York City local government would set up a bunch of stores through the city on city land and city buildings, never pay rent, never pay property taxes. And the idea, you pass on those savings to the customer. What do you think of an idea like that?
Well, I just don't think it'll work because there's no incentive to keep growing. And then it's just going to cost us. Look what the Canada Post is doing. Anything publicly run is just a money loss, and it just costs taxpayers at the end of the day.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Fraser. Thank you for calling and having your say today, giving your perspective, particularly on that grocery store issue. It's not the only one, as I say. Free tuition, tax the billionaires, eat the rich, windfall taxes, okay, what they call an excess profits tax. Okay. Company makes a windfall, say oil prices go way up and the oil company makes, say, bigger profits than they would normally make. Well, then the government would tax some of that. They call that a windfall tax. It's being promoted. It's out there. Jonathan. Let's take Jonathan's call next. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Rob. Good morning. I
Yeah,
love your
good to
show.
hear from you. Thank you.
Yeah. Rob, I agree with Blake and Fraser. I don't know if I named them correctly.
Yes.
This will not going to work.
Why?
This is very popular. This is very popular in academia. It's we go back to the history. Old USSR, China, Venezuela, and so on and so on. It doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, I'll mention I'll mention the grocery because this is we are all suffering. Prices are dictated by supply and demand. If you control that, if the government put a control on that, it's not going to work. Also, why we are also suffering inflation. Our buying power to buy the grocery is diminished. Plus, our taxes are too high. That's why we are all suffering. But if the government put a control on everything, it will not work. Let's go back to the history and
Okay. Because the flip side is, you could save money on transit, or instead of paying $10,000 a year for college or university tuition in Canada, you wouldn't have to pay that. Instead of the overhead being so high for a private grocery store, maybe you bring that down, you pass along the savings. This is the pitch. I'm just making the pitch. Not getting a feeling the love here, gotta tell you. But I'm not a big left winger. What about you? What do you think of these ideas? Let's come back in a moment here on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On these winning issues for the left, are they winning issues? Let's ask Dawn in Red Deer. Hello, Dawn. Thanks for waiting, Dawn. You're on the air.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
I've got something to say about everything.
Good for you. Okay.
The grocery stores. Most of them trade on the public exchange. So are they private or public? And I think the government is not that competent with running businesses. I think it should be kept completely separate.
Okay.
And tuitions, I am a proponent of giving our maybe second generation, first generation Canadians free tuition. However, there needs to be a caveat there where maybe the tuition is a grant, and when they complete their course, it's then forgiven. And they should sign that they will give, if it's a 4-year degree, then they give 4 years into that specialty in our province, the province where they get the education, so that there's not a brain drain on our country.
Okay.
And then
I would just say, if I could just interrupt there, they do this in lots of European countries: Germany, Norway, Finland, Austria, Sweden, Iceland, Greece. No tuition for undergrad. There may be some for postgrad, and there may be tuition for people not from EU countries, but for a basic 4-year undergrad degree, for the most part in those countries, no tuition.
Well, I agree, because we have a society here in Canada where they're not getting the tools they need to succeed, and the positions are taken by immigrants, and they're struggling. So give them a chance. Give them the tools they need.
Okay. What else did you want to talk about? Free transit? Do you have a thought on that?
Well, I'm not into everything as a give me handout thing.
Okay.
I do believe that free transit in in areas where the entire cities are covered by transit might be a good idea. It would take a lot of cars off the road. But free, no, maybe not. Maybe a family pass at a very reduced rate or something to that effect. But I think that promoting more ridership, safe ridership, is a good idea. It's a tricky one, though.
Okay. That's all the time we have. I'm going to let you go right now because we do have other callers I want to get to. But thank you for weighing in on at least 3 of our ideas today that are out there in up for public discussion. I believe we have Mike up next. Hi, Mike. You're on the air, Mike.
How's the battle go today?
Yeah, it's going, sir.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I hear you, Mike. Go ahead. Are you typing,
if you can
Mike?
hear me. Do
Yeah,
we
I
all,
hear you
do
just
we
fine.
all wear the same clothes? Do we all
No,
drive
I doubt it.
cars? No.
No.
Well, what you're talking, Rob, we might as well, if we're going to make everything free, we might as well all donate our paychecks in to pay for it, because that's the only way it's going to get paid for. Look at Canada Post right now. One of your callers hit it on the head correctly.
Okay.
They don't even make money,
Oh, no, they lose big money.
Basically, what you're talking about all amounts to communism in my mind.
Okay.
That's all I really
well,
have to say, I guess.
Okay, that's fair enough, Mike. That's one opinion that's out there. They're saying, well, we can offset a lot of these costs, for things like tuition or transit with higher taxes on wealthy individuals. They're, the rich aren't paying their fair share, kind of that thing. And with higher taxes on corporations, and in the cases where profits in the eyes of the government are too high, you have a windfall tax and you tax them even more to offset, costs for things like free tuition or free public transit. That's their pitch. That's their pitch. It's the left's pitch. Stop here. Be right back. More of your calls, 1-833-668-2577, and have your say on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
I've been running by you some of the common policy ideas that you hear these days from left-wing political candidates to progressives. Publicly owned grocery stores, free transit, free tuition, much higher wealth taxes, public ownership of things like energy companies, oil companies, utilities. What do you think of these? What do you think of them? Any merit? Wayne in Kitchener. Thanks for waiting, Wayne. Up next.
Hello?
Hi, Wayne. You're on the air, Wayne. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a first-time caller. So I just want to kind of put this in a nutshell, everything that's going, if I could.
Sure.
So, yeah. So socialism needs capitalism to survive. Otherwise, there is no socialism. They have to get their money from somewhere to make their policies move forward.
Okay.
And then after that, you'll have communism because everything will collapse under socialism. It's already been proven many, many times. That's my view on that. And the way society is in North America, the States, I watch the American news and the news up here, and it's like that in Australia, the UK, a lot of countries. And they've gone down this road, and it's going to be the demise of these places. That's my view on that.
Okay. What do you think, though, when you hear, well, we can offset a lot of these costs and make society more equitable, if you will, if we do things like wealth taxes and higher corporate taxes, or what the left is calling windfall taxes? For example, Avi Lewis, who wants to be the next leader of the NDP, is advocating for a special tax on billionaires, Canadian billionaires. Tax them more, society will be more equitable. Or it's also very fashionable, and they've done this in some countries, to propose or implement what they call windfall taxes or excess profit taxes. If a company makes more profit than it would normally make, if it's considered to be excess, we have to tax some of that back. And we'll pay for social programs, low-income housing, childcare, whatever. Pick your social program. What do you think of an idea like that? A defense like that?
I don't agree
No?
with that at all. If it's a private company, they should be, you should congratulate them for being successful and hiring people and moving forward. That's what I think.
All right. You've said it. Thank you, Wayne. Let's let's go to Calgary. Gord, first-time caller Gord. Hi, Gord. You with me, Gord?
Hello?
Yeah, I got you, Gord. Thank you for calling. Your opinion, please.
Okay. Yeah, it's first time caller. I like your show, Rob.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to say is get against the ideas because it's just going to lead to a collapse of everything, communism. But if these progressives are so hell-bent on taking money from people who went out and bust their rear end to make a living and are having money, it's funny all the people who don't have money want everything for free. So when these guys go for free tuition, tax the hell out of them from 25 to 49 and see how many of them are lining up for free tuition. You'll have nobody getting educated.
All right. Thank you. The news next on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So I've just been running by you some popular policy proposals that you will hear from the left. For example, we're having an NDP leadership campaign. These may be some of the issues that are raised. Things like publicly owned grocery stores or free transit. Certainly free tuition is something Avi Lewis has called for a very long time, along with special wealth taxes on billionaires and windfall taxes on big companies. And he doesn't think energy companies should be privately owned. He thinks, for example, fossil fuel companies should be owned by the government. I mean, what do you think? 1-833-668-2577. Let's go to Bill in Kitchener today. Hi, Bill. Thanks for calling, Bill.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
Very good, Bill. Thank you.
Rob, I had to call because I called in, I think 2 weeks ago. I think the subject was, what can your federal government do to make life easier? And it was my first time call. And, I was saying that maybe you should be a cap on grocery prices or something like that. And you were,
yes.
I swear, Rob, if you hadn't been looking at me, you would have looked at me like I had two heads. So what we're talking about here is if the federal government did get into the grocery business, I think it would be good. One, it would generate a lot of competition. I think the Westons. I think every 80 cents on every dollar spent in Canada is controlled by the Westons. I just think that there needs to be some intervention. I think that's a stat. I'm not sure, Rob, but you mean look it up, but. Certainly the three big ones in Canada.
Yeah.
And I do, I've paid 50% tax all my life. We're one of the heaviest taxed countries in the world. But I don't see what we get for that. So free tuition, I think, is a good deal. We need to get some education into the country. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, and I also think free transit because it gets a lot of cars off the road. The only thing is the government will never do that because they make so much tax money off the petroleum industry. Why would they do that?
Yeah, but it also generates a lot of wealth, right? It generates a lot of wealth and it funds a lot of social programs in the country.
Yeah, but I mean, social programs are getting cut. We're still taxed, up the wazoo. I just don't see us getting any benefit for the tax dollar that we spend. So some of these programs like free transit, like free education, like maybe more control in the grocery sector, I just think it'll be better for Canadians all around, to be honest. And to pay for it, you're right. How do you pay for it? I do think that the rich companies and rich people within the country need to pay a bigger fair share, if you will, be more equitable.
Okay. You're in the minority opinion today. Certainly, Bill, in Kitchener. But we welcome all opinions, Bill, and that's yours. I think what you're going to hear, if this really does become an issue on for example, free tuition or free transit, free public transit, what you'll hear is they're doing this in other places. Kansas City, Missouri, big city, fair-sized city, whole metropolitan area, about 2 million people. City boundaries, of course, different story, about 500,000. Transit's free. Boston, big city, running a pilot program right now. Select routes, no transit fares, and they've seen a big surge in ridership on those routes. Washington, D.C., all bus fares eliminated on routes within the boundaries of the D.C. area. 12 major bus routes, all free. And the buses are running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you're going to hear, well, some places are doing it. Why can't we try it here? Free transit, for example. Lisa up next in Calgary today. Hi, Lisa. All right, let's try Walter then. Hello, Walter.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, Walter. Yeah, good to hear from you. What do you think?
Very good. My opinion, and well, a lot to do with history, right? But you have the direct Declaration of Independence, which is what the United States Constitution is written on, and it says that, and they built it off of freedom and democracy, right? And hopefully we're going to try to live in democracy, and it's what we don't have, right? So what I think is that you had a caller that phoned in and said a government by the people for the people, and he didn't like that. Well, that's democracy. That's why, and you look in the Constitution of the United States, that's democracy. And it's in democracy, the people don't. The government doesn't tell the people how to live. The government doesn't tell, oh, this is the right way to live, or you should live this way, or you should live that way. That's not democracy. People tell the government what we want and what we need. So I don't think that we should be listening to anything coming from the south of the border, because south of the border, they're so messed up. Their money's messed up. Their lives are messed up. People are being hurt like you wouldn't believe. Okay, just let me finish, okay?
Sure.
So here's the other answer. Here's another one, right? And the other is, there's nothing free in life. Nothing. Absolutely nothing is free. There's always a cost. The question is, are we willing to pay that cost? Okay, so the other thing is this thing, is you have these governments built on capitalism, socialism, communism, all that, and each one of those different divisions, there's a good side to them and a bad side to them. And the bad side to the capitalist is they're so strong that they pick on and they go after everybody that's under their strength. So the stronger prevail and the weaker die off. And if you take a look at Trump, since he's been in there in about a year, right? And I don't know of any other president in the United States has ever done this, but his bank account is bloated by $4 billion because he's a bully. He's a capitalist who turns around.
Again, I'm trying to kind of keep it focused on what we're hearing from the left side of the political spectrum and the policies that they're promoting. That's kind of the focus today, okay?
Yeah, there's
For example,
free.
Like a government-run grocery store is a very popular idea to compete with, the Loblaws and the Sobeys and Metros and whatever. Is it doable? That's what I'm asking.
Somebody's going to pay. Yeah, there's nothing free.
Somebody's going to pay.
Somebody's going to pay. And whoever that is going to pay, right?
Well, I think what the left is saying is the wrong people are paying and the people at the top are not paying their fair share. That's what you're going to hear from them, and we should be having, taxes on people with wealth of 10 million or 50 million or the billionaires, or we should go after big companies who are quote-unquote gouging Canadians and make them pay.
That's the view of a true capitalist. A capitalist wants to turn around and bully and take from ordinary people. So capitalism out of control.
Okay.
Is like a leader that is bullying people. Take a look at
Gotta
Donald
run,
Trump.
gotta run. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it. Be back with more calls on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Winning issues for the left. That's all we're asking today. Are these winning issues for the left? Things like free transit, free tuition, big time wealth taxes on the